Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. The Secretary will close the roll.
Please stand for the prayer. The prayer by the chaplain. Today's chaplain is Reverend Alfred Babington Johnson from Stair Step Foundation and His Works United in Minneapolis. After and following the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, let's look to the Lord. Father, we're grateful for the opportunity that you've given us of a new day. Grateful because we know that you have purpose and you have plan. Sometimes, Father, it seems as if darkness would seek to overcome us. But it doesn't matter how dark the night, we believe in the coming of the morning because we can look to you. So we ask, God, that you would rain your presence into this place and give to these, your servants, wisdom as they confront the tasks set before them. Give them, oh God, insight and understanding and collegiality to overcome all the divisive forces of darkness. We believe you, oh God, to bring forward from this place hope and help and actions that will lift your people to the place of new life and new joy. We claim these things in the name of the Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary will take the roll.
Senators Abler, Anderson, Bach, Benson, Bigham, Carlson, Chamberlain, Champion, Clausen, Coleman, Swazinski, Dames, Dibble, Dornick, Draheim, Duckworth, Dietzick, Eaton, Eichhorn, Eakin, Fate, Friends, Gazelka, Goggin, Herr, Hoffman, Housley, Howe, Ingebrigtsen, Isaacson, Jasinski, Johnson, Johnson, Stewart, Kent, Kiffmeyer, Klein, Coran, Kunish, Lang, Latz, Limmer, Lopez, Frenzen, Marty, Matthews, McEwen, Miller, Murphy, Nelson, Newman, Newton, Osmic, Pappas, Port, Pratt, Putnam, Rarick, Rest, Rosen, Rude, Senjum, Tomasoni, Torres Ray, Utke, Weber, Westrom, Uyghur, Wickland.
Pursuant to Rule 14.1, the following members intend to vote under Rule 40.7. Senators Anderson, Swadzinski, Draheim, Eaton, Fateh, Gazelka, Goggin, Kent, Lang, Limmer, Marty, McEwen, Newton, Tomasoni, Torres Ray, and Wickland. A quorum is present. Beginning under the fifth order of business, reports of committees. Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee report printed in the agenda be adopted.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Moving to the seventh order of business, second reading of House bills. The Secretary will read the House file number.
House File Number 3872.
The House file has been given its second reading. Moving to the eighth order of business, introduction and first reading of Senate bills. The bills on today's introduction calendar are given their first reading and referred as indicated. Moving to the ninth order of business, motions and resolutions. We will adopt the author's motion as one motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Senate Resolution 134 will be referred to the Committee on Rules of Administration. Remaining under motions and resolutions, Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 26, I designate the following bills made special orders for immediate consideration. Members, the list is on your desk.
Members, there are three bills on special orders. First bill on the agenda is House File 3254, number 93 on general order. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, Senate File 3254 is a relatively simple bill. Back in 2014, we unanimously passed a law that said when a manufacturer's rep and their contract is terminated, that termination has to follow Minnesota law. What we've been finding is that in many cases, these agreements are following Minnesota law, but they're being adjudicated in other jurisdictions. Back in 2014, I partnered with Senator Latz to pass this bill, and I'm proud to join him again to close the loophole on this bill. There has been no opposition to the bill so far, and members, I request a green vote.
Discussion to House File 3254. Senator Latz.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. This is a bill that will close a loophole. The out-of-state contractors have been able to take advantage of a venue or a non-existing venue provision, even though choice of law is stated in the statute, must be in Minnesota. They've still been able to venue their legal claims in a different state, which makes it much, much harder for Minnesota-based sales representatives, contractors, to protect their own rights. So this closes that loophole, and I encourage a green vote.
Further discussion to House File 3254. See no further discussion. The Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 3254.
Third reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will take the roll on final passage of House File 3254. Calling Senator Jasinski to report. Members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Henderson votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Draheim votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes aye.
Gazelka votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Goggin votes aye.
Goggin votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Limmer votes aye.
Limmer votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Thomasoni votes aye.
Thomasoni votes aye. Calling Senator Herr to report. Members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Herr.
Mr. President, I'd like to report aye for Senator Chwodzinski.
Chwodzinski votes aye. Senator Herr.
I'd like to report aye for Senator Eaton.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Herr.
I'd like to report aye for Senator Fateh.
Fateh votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator Kent.
Kent votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator Marty.
Marty votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator McEwen.
McEwen votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator Noonan.
Newton votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator Torres Ray.
Torres Ray votes aye. Senator Herr.
Aye for Senator Wickland.
Wickland votes aye.
That's all.
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Lang votes aye.
Lang votes aye. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 66 ayes and no nays, House File 3254 does pass. Its title agreed to. Members, second bill on the agenda is House File 3545, number 19 on General Order. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Member, this bill adds a new allowed use of money in the Breeders' Fund, which is a fund that supports breeders of racehorses. The new use is to support racehorse adoption, retirement, and repurposing. An example of repurposing would be maybe a former racehorse gets used to work with law enforcement officers or first responders or veterans and in an attempt to help them with the PSD that they're working through. That would be one example. I want to underscore that this is not a new tax. This is not a new fee. This is money not coming from the general fund. It is just an expanded use of a fund that already exists. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm leaving the floor. I'm not going to be remote.
Discussion to House File 3545.
I'm able to get back in remotely. Okay, so just heads up somewhere.
Senator Kunish.
Hour and a half or 2 hours. I'm sure the education.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Duckworth yield for question?
He will. Senator Kunish.
Senator Duckworth, what are some of those expanded uses for these funds for these horses?
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Kunish, for the question, and thank you, Mr. President. An example would be, let's say a former racehorse, like I mentioned before, is no longer on the racetrack. It's at a nonprofit that takes care of horses that are retired, and maybe they allow veterans, first responders, law enforcement folks to come be with the horses in an attempt to help them through PTSD. They could be simply just allowed to live a life instead of being put to death. They could be used to teach children how to ride horses. Those would be some of the uses that these racehorses could go on to do rather than being put to death immediately after their career as a racehorse. Thank you.
Senator Kunish.
Would Senator Duckworth yield again?
He will. Senator Kunish.
So, Senator Duckworth, when these horses are taken out of the racing realm, are they privately owned? And are any of these horses continue to be privately owned but receiving these dollars to maintain them after their racing careers?
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Kunish, and thank you, Mr. President. These horses are going, in many cases, to nonprofits that purely exist to help these animals out and ensure that they're, like I mentioned before, just not put to death after their racing career. I can't definitively answer you whether or not one of these horses may end up privately owned at some point, but the intent here is to make sure that they're just well cared for after they've finished their use on the racetrack.
Senator Kunish.
Thank you. Senator Duckworth, thank you.
Senator Dietzig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will Senator Duckworth yield?
He will. Senator Dietzig.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I apologize if I missed your explanation of this, Senator Duckworth, but do these funds come out of the general fund, or are they come from some fees?
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Dietzig, for the opportunity to provide some clarity, and thank you, Mr. President. These funds do not come out of the general fund. These funds are not a new tax. These funds come from fees that are collected on folks that are wagering on things like races that the horses participate in. These funds is already in state statute that there's a fund exists where some of these fees are set aside for this specific purpose. All this bill does is expand the allowable uses for those funds for some of the examples I described earlier. Thank you.
Senator Dietzig.
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. President. Will Senator Duckworth yield?
He will. Senator Dietzig.
Are some of these fees advanced deposit wagering? And can you explain that, if that's some of those fees? Thank you.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Dietzig. I'll read from state statute. So, for example, a regulatory fee is imposed at the rate of 1% of all amounts wagered by Minnesota residents. Fees collected under this paragraph must be deposited in the state treasury and credited to a racing and card playing regulation account in a special revenue fund and are appropriated to the commission to offset the costs incurred by the commission or the costs associated with regulating horse racing and wagering in Minnesota. The expanded use is to support racehorse adoption, retirement, and repurposing. So without getting into any more detail than that, Senator Dietzig, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that is the state statute that governs where these funds come from.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 3545.
Third reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will take the roll on House File 3545.
Just one more. Oh, he texted me already.
Calling Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Anderson votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Draheim votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes aye.
Gazelka votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Goggin votes aye.
Goggin votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Limmer votes aye.
Limmer votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Lang votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Thomasoni votes aye.
Thomasoni votes aye. Calling Senator Hurd to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report aye for Senator Swazinski.
Swadzinski votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Eaton.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Fateh.
Fateh votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Kent.
Kent votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Marty.
Marty votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator McEwen.
McEwen votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Newton.
Newton votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Torres Ray.
Torres Ray votes aye. Senator Hurd.
Aye for Senator Wickland.
Wickland votes aye. Senator Hurd.
And aye for Senator Latz.
Latz votes aye.
Thank you.
All members having voted, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 67 ayes and no nays, House File 3545 does pass in its title agreed to. Members, third and final bill on special orders is House File 4300, number 98 on general orders. Senator Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is the Senate Omnibus Literacy Appropriations Bill. Last year, we passed a bill off this floor that recognized the challenges that the schools had been under for, at that time, a little over a year. Now it's been 2 years, allowing them time to recover and stabilize. The bill last year contained almost no mandates, 6% increase in spending overall, 2.5% in the formula first year, 2% the second year. It's the largest increase in 15 years. $3 billion of federal COVID money to the schools, allowing them time to catch up, recover, stabilize, especially with no mandates. This bill this year gives us an opportunity, a great opportunity, to solve problems and to focus on a particular crisis that we have in our schools. It is literacy and reading. Members, on your desks are a couple of handouts, and we usually give it a quick look and toss it. But the handouts clearly show two different scores and some different rankings and how we performed. The MCAs show clearly that we've been on a downward trend since 13-14. And we see now where we're at. It also compares Mississippi to Minnesota in different areas. And then we have the NAEP document. It shows where Mississippi stands in relation to Minnesota on reading, grade 4. So important to refer to. So 3 things: 50% parents and imagine results. 50% parents and imagine results, members. 50% of our kids in this today in 3rd grade cannot read at grade level. 50%. Now the billboards out there say 40, but if you look at your document, it's 50%. Now that's even worse for our children of color. They're right at 30% or worse. Prisons, about 75% of people in prison read at 4th grade level. 25% is estimated are functionally illiterate in prison. So the trend in the state has been down. If you look at that trend and you take the average of 40, we won't take 50%, we'll take 40%. If you take that and do some math, what that means is since 2014, members, Mr. President, about 250,000 children graduated high school not being able to read at grade level. 50% currently, again, are not reading at grade level. 30% of children of color. The trend has been down. It has not reversed since 2014. And about 250,000 kids graduated high school without being able to read at grade level. And we know what potentially can happen with that. Secondly, parents. I began working with parents in 2013. It's been a bipartisan issue. Initially started with dyslexia, as many of you know. It had morphed into reading. They faced a lot of challenges over the years, but they persevered, drove change, and got several changes finally in statute. Now, one could ask, why should it take so long to get some obvious changes into statute that had such a positive effect for kids? Well, that is a good question to ask. Sometime we'll have that discussion. The parents were behind it, they drove it, they persevered to the point where it morphed into a literacy issue. Many of the issues that help dyslexic children benefit children who have a hard time reading. We eventually, last year, got something passed. Direct aid to teachers. Now that was a bipartisan effort. The teachers union, school boards, the Department of Education, parents, all supported, along with many of you, supported that first-time project of letters in the hands, teaching teachers how to teach reading. Now, this wasn't a teacher fault, and we'll get to that in a second. But the parents drove this to get success incrementally, and last year, $2 million was sent out, and 2,100 teachers applied for all that money to get in-service professional development training to teach kids how to read, because those teachers were deprived of that in higher ed. So 50% parents. And finally, members, I ask you to imagine results. Imagine what could have happened earlier if we had set aside politics and agendas. What if we do that today in the weeks and months going forward? Set aside the politics and the agendas and focus on this crisis. Nobody in here, I think, would deny that there's a crisis in reading for our kids in this state. And it needs to be addressed affirmatively and positively. Little else matters, members, if a child can't read. Little else matters, not science, not math. When a child can read and they're succeeding, mental health improves, behavioral problems start to diminish, everything starts to improve. They have hope. That's what this is about. Reading, hope, opportunity. Our goal is 90% proficiency across all demographics in the next 5 or 6 years. It can be done. It's in our document for the state's document for World's Best Workforce, 90% proficiency across all demographics. So members, 50% parents, and imagine results if we do this. Now quickly to the bill and the components. There are 5 pieces to this bill. Simple, focused, targeted on literacy. The first piece is about a mandate. It suspends a mandate which was the world's best workforce. It was passed in 2013 out of this body and out of the House and signed into law. Even though LA, when they did their audit, talked to many districts and principals and educators and found that it was little more than a check-the-box process, but it consumes a lot of time and effort on part of the schools, and it's brought there's no correlating results. And we can see that. You have it in front of you, MCAs and AAPs, all being reduced. So we suspend that temporarily for 6 years so the schools can focus solely and simply on getting kids back on track with reading. Secondly, regional centers across the state. $700,000 for regional centers to help support those districts in their literacy efforts. Number 3, we're removing one word to be stricken from statute forever, I hope. Part of the whole language problem that's got us to this point. We strike the word balanced and remove that from statute. It may not seem like a lot, but it means a lot. We can get rid of whole language and focus on the only way to teach kids to read. Number 4 is deals with Pellsby and teacher prep schools. There's a state statute, members, that says the Teacher Licensing Board and Pellsby, the statute's been out there about 10 years or more, says they are responsible for ensuring that higher ed teacher prep schools are doing their job in teaching science or reading. Well, we were confused because superintendents were telling us they had teachers that didn't get this, didn't know how to teach reading. We had teachers telling us they didn't ever receive this information. And the National Council on Quality Teaching, their report showed that 74% of our teacher prep colleges were missing some or all of the science of reading. So you add all those things up, 1 and 1 still equals 2, and it says thousands of our teachers were put out into the classroom for K-5. They were shortchanged. They were not taught how to teach reading. They were shortchanged. Result, hundreds of thousands of kids didn't learn how to read. The fifth part of this and the thrust of this bill is letters training. To build on the success from last year, $30 million available to the Department of Education to give out to educators so they can apply to take the letters program, which teaches science of reading. It's not a mandate, it's an offer, and the teachers gobbled it up when we put $2 million out there. 2,100 of them took it all within a couple months. Currently, Anoka Hennepin, the largest district in the state, they implemented a letters program. They want their educators to get SOR, science of reading. Other districts across the state have taken it, have implemented it. Teachers on their own have stepped up to take it. It is proven, the results are there, it works, the teachers see almost immediate results, and they get excited when they see that. So members, thank you for your indulgence. We've had a good bill last year. The governor loved it. He went around the state applauding it. No mandates, great funding. This bill is to stabilize the schools. This bill, again, to help educators get to where they need to go so we can face this amazing, terrible crisis for our kids in the schools who aren't learning to read because they were shortchanged because the teachers didn't get what they were supposed to get. So we want to go in there, inject this in there, and get this done. Members, I urge a green vote for this bill. It's solid, it's focused, it's targeted, it's where we need to go. With that, Mr. President, I do have one amendment, A9.
Senator Chamberlain moves the A9 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Chamberlain moves to amend House File Number 4300 as follows. Page 2, line 18. This is the A9 amendment.
To the A9 amendment, Senator Chamberlain.
Mr. President, members, this just strikes 3 words on page 2, or locally adopted. Clears up some confusion and tightens it up a bit. Thank you. Green vote, please.
To the A5, the A9 amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A5 amendment signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. The amendment is adopted. Discussion and amendments to House File 4300 as amended. Senator Uyghur.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Chamberlain, and to all the members of the E12 committee. Yes, we need to improve reading scores in Minnesota. As I have stated a few times previously, we support increased funding for literacy training, and so does Governor Walz. And in addition, there are several more programs that we could be doing to address literacy. We will talk more about some specific things that we could do. Again, we support the appropriation. Please understand that. And we need to improve. However, there are several additional challenges that are being faced by Minnesota students, parents, staff, and to put $30.7 million into education when we have a $9.25 billion surplus is embarrassing. It's shameful. We will talk more about another crisis, mental health, the challenges that students, parents, and staff have told us about pre-COVID, and it's only gotten worse. We need to invest additional resources in this area. If a student is suffering anxiety, how is that going to help if we don't address for reading proficiency if underlying conditions with their mental health is not addressed? We have heard from school districts, from parents and students about the need to put additional resources for the formula, which is approximately 60% of what a school district relies on for its funding from the state. And this all roots back to Article 13, Section 1 of our Constitution in terms of the duty to provide resources. We are underfunding schools. There is $0 for the formula. Okay, you might say, well, there was a 2.45% in the formula last time, plus an additional 2%. That does not meet inflation. We'll have more discussion on that as we dive deeper into what is missing. Did you know that school districts are making cuts right now? Teachers and other support staff, they're getting the notice for layoffs. How is that going to help address reading proficiency? It's not. The problem in not funding special education. There should be full funding for special education. 145,000 students are in these plans, and they have that federal right that's guaranteed, and we have that obligation to help. Federal government hasn't stepped up to this, what they should, but we have the resources, and special education deserves much better. There shouldn't be a cross-subsidy that causes an additional $800 million to provide those funds by the local districts. Imagine how much more could be done by districts if they had those resources, addressing reading proficiency and many other of the needs of districts. The formula, the special ed subsidy, the English language learners. We certainly know of the need for providing programs for the learners. And I'll point out some of those future learners may be coming from Ukraine. It might be an Anastasia or an Ivan whose dad is left. Maybe mom makes it over. We have English language training programs. We have adult basic education programs to provide additional hope and opportunity for them. And that's why we have English language learner. That's why we have adult basic education to help people to accomplish that dream. But zero is there. Teachers are leaving the profession in record number. And ironically, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. It should be every day. What are we doing to help the teachers? We're not keeping pace with inflation. Are we listening to why they're leaving? Could it have something to do with a lack of respect on the part of policymakers, a lack of resources? I think so. But talk to them. They're asking for additional resources for our schools. There is zero in your proposed omnibus bill. And as I said, and this will be the third time, we support that additional training for teachers. It can take a few years as we get the results on that and measure, but we support that. But right now, we have a crisis in teachers and other staff leaving. We can, we must, we should do so much more. And for teachers, the need that we had bipartisan support last time to heavily recruit, train teachers of color, with 33% or so of the students in Minnesota being students of color, and eventually that will be the majority. But about 5% of teachers being Caucasian, or excuse me, being of color, it does not help learning opportunities with that match. Students can learn to read better, can achieve more if they can relate to someone with some cultural background that they have. That is scientifically based. There's other areas that will also address the importance of early childhood education opportunities. There is documented proof that you have an early start and have a high quality program, early detection of issues that can be addressed. And that can be dyslexia. And Senator Chamberlain, I thank you for your work, your leadership on that issue. But early detection involvement can help put together a plan so that students are ready for K. Ready for K. Is that important? If a student is ready for K, they are more likely to be reading proficient. By the way, Ready for K is one of the metrics in World's Best Workforce that this bill would suspend for 6 years. Ready for K is important, and we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into programs, whether it's in the north side of Minneapolis, the opportunity, we've heard from Sandra Samuels, and so many of the other programs around the state, which we'll talk more about. This provides hope and opportunity and helps students as well. There are other metrics that we have in the World's Best Workforce. Ultimately leads to graduation. Shouldn't we be collecting data regarding the graduation? And if they aren't at 100%, actually some do. I remember one time Senator Nelson and I read all the districts that have 100% graduation. We celebrate that. But the reporting and some of the challenges that districts have in not attaining a high graduation rate, that's included in World's Best Workforce. We're suspending that. We shouldn't. Okay, if you think that this is Senate DFL, this is the Minnesota Business Partnership. The Minnesota Business Partnership asked for these metrics. I happen to have been the Senate chief author in the conference committee, Paul Marquardt, representative in the House when we put this. But the Minnesota Business Partnership was a key part in putting together these accountability metrics, including reading. Have we achieved goal yet? No, we haven't. And it's going to be a journey. But suspending reporting requirements? No, that's not a good response. The business partnership pointed that out in committee rather politely, but I can't imagine that ultimately we would suspend reporting requirements on these important metrics. They all tie in. By the way, college career prep data is in there as well. We invest $21 billion, 40% of our state budget, and we should, it's our future workforce, but we should get this. There's 5 basic areas. It's not just reading, it's important, very important. And we're going to share a number of additional programs that we can do, but we can multitask in terms of the reporting that's done. It's just not another report. And by the way, for those of you that have looked at your district World's Best Workforce Report, check it out. Talk to your teachers and staff about that. Also, there is a public meeting with parents that's required in developing that. Parents matter. We've heard so much about the need to address mental health, and it just saddens me that we are not meeting the moment to do that. We may hear that, oh yes, in finance, I believe there might be $2.4 million in a separate bill. $2.4 million? Average, that's $2 and change per student? That's the remedy? Or maybe you would argue that the federal funds, that'll take care of it. No, it won't. That's a Band-Aid. Listen to what parents and students, what your school board are saying. They need this help. We will hear from members further now in our caucus discussing these needs. As I've pointed out, none of our bills were heard. Senator Swedinsky did have one, but I had a number of bills on these subjects. They weren't heard. Senator Kunish, 25 years an educator, hasn't had a bill heard in the Minnesota Senate Education Committee since he was elected. Is that fair? So this is where we have to bring up our ideas. And our ideas are what we're hearing from students, parents, staff, local elected officials as well. So we have challenges before us. We support the additional funds for literacy training. That's important. But we need, we can, we must do much more. The resources are here and likely not change any minds here today, but this will be brought clearly to the public further as we discuss the needs, the future of public education. And this is our opportunity to express that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion to House File 4300 as amended. Senator Kunish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Uyghur, and I can't agree with you more. Also, I agree with you, Senator Chamberlain, that the ability to read is the core skill of a learner, and it definitely has that positive or negative effect on the future of a student. Access to high quality education has a potential, and we know that, to alter a person, a community, and the society that we live in as a whole. And when we invest in education, it has undeniable benefits. It decreases the disparities, and Minnesota has some of the highest disparities for our students. It enhances economic growth and promotes the worth and lifts our folks that have been in perpetual poverty out of poverty. But this bill is far from meeting those needs of all of our students. It's not the magic wand or the golden key to whether it's going to bring our kids up to the prescribed reading level or not. If you ask the experts, such as the educators or those that are boots on the ground, there are so many other elements, there are so many other things that we can do as a state and as educators to create a strong literacy program. And pretty much the core of this bill, that is just the final policy and finance bill, there are so many other things that we could be doing in tandem with this literacy program to increase those reading skills and literacy. This bill ought to have provisions for additional helpers in the classrooms and the programs, but it doesn't. We're coming out of a pandemic. I hope we are coming out of a pandemic. And our teachers and our students and our administrators have been in a world of hurt because of that. We could use those additional helpers in the classroom. We could build jobs. We could build skills by bringing more and more folks into our classrooms, but this bill does not provide any of those resources. I know Chair Chamberlain really admires the program that Mississippi put together using the Letters program, but even Mississippi had additional resources to those students that were in greatest need. And that included additional staff in the classrooms and in the schools as instructors and supporters. They reduced their teacher-to-student ratio. I can't tell you how hard it is to try to educate a student, a group of students where you've got 25, 30 more or more students in a classroom. And that one teacher is responsible for improving the academic success of every single child. Every single child. Look at how we differentiate with our own districts to make sure that they have the resources that they need to thrive. And yet we are here expecting one teacher in a classroom to raise grade levels after we have underfunded for decades. Our education chair has rejected further investments in tutoring and failed to bring forward any funding that would enable and reduce our student-teacher ratios or individualized attention, and that's really missing from this bill. I've been a teacher for 25 years as a library media center, and I feel like if it's one thing I understand is reading and literacy. But I believe that the most important factor that defines really good education system where literacy is a high priority is addressing our educational inequities. It's a huge problem here in Minnesota. It's a huge problem across every school district. Even within school district, there are schools that have and those that have not. But it's our job as legislators, and especially those that serve on the Education Committee, and with your leadership, Senator Chamberlain, to concentrate all of our attention on improving our educational system. But that didn't happen this year when we had a once in a billion, or should we say once in a billion opportunity to invest in the most important areas that our schools need, not just for literacy. Instead, with the money spent on this bill, we could have funded and increased $2,203 per child in every school across the state. That can make a huge difference for those students and those schools. We could have invested $822 million to cover special education mandates that the federal government requires but doesn't pay for. We could have put $146 million to cover the English language learner cross subsidy. And we could have addressed the perpetual issue of unfunded mandates for special education, which are one of the most critical services that we provide in our schools. And it is absolutely unacceptable that we have underfunded our schools to the point where they have to cut from other services. Art programs, science programs, library media specialists and library programs, literacy programs that we know have also helped. We've had to cut those services just to meet the basic needs of our school. Students across the state are not receiving those same resources and attention as students from the high tax base communities, and that means that those students have that lower opportunity of academic success because of lack of investment in them. Again, if I were to use Mississippi's Every Student Succeeds Act state plan as an example, their literacy coaches were touted as being critical to achieving growth in grade 3 literacy rates. That means they had those literacy coaches where they needed to be, and they added coaches across their districts. Across 78 districts targeted for support, they addressed the needs in 171 schools. We are not doing that in this bill, Minnesota. All students, all Minnesotans will benefit when we ensure that each and every student has an equitable and excellent education opportunity. So letters alone is not going to fix the problem that ails our struggling readers, and this bill does nothing but write out a big fat check to a privately owned company without folding support systems in to bolster this Minnesota development plan. In order to truly address this widespread problem of low literacy, we policymakers must first understand why so many of our students struggle to read, like how are the environmental factors such as low exposure to literature or language barriers limiting reading success. It's been proven time and time again that schools with library media specialists, and I'm always going to advocate for libraries and library media specialists, but when we have library media specialists who are integral in the facilitating the development of information literacy skills necessary for success in all content areas, they are in-service trainers of teachers. There are testing facilitators who keep up to date on the latest information resources and technology. Those are the schools that naturally have higher literacy outcomes. But we didn't look at any of these opportunities in this session 2022. One of my districts, Fridley, is sitting on a $1 million budget deficit going into 2023. And when you add the special ed and English learner deficit of over $2.5 million, that's a huge, huge hurt. In my hometown school district, and I heard from a number of teachers that are there in Sartell and St. Stephen, they're sitting on $119 million in debt after this school year, with $3.8 million in SPED and EL shortfalls. Members, I hope that you have conferred with your school districts to be fully informed on what this bill does not provide for your students and your schools, and recognizing that the shortfall of meeting their needs is not in this bill. And so at this time, Mr. President, I'm wondering if Senator Nelson would yield for a question.
Senator Kunish, Senator Nelson is not on the floor.
All right. I'm wondering if Senator Housley would yield for a question.
Senator Kunish, Senator Housley is not on the floor. Would you like to speak with the chair of the Education Committee? He is on the floor.
No, I'm going to wait on that. I'm wondering if Senator Housley, or excuse me, Senator, let me see who I can, I'm not sure who's here today.
Mr. President,
Senator Lopez Franzen.
I impose a call of the Senate. This is an important debate, and we need members to be here.
Senate is under call. Senator Lopez Franzen, is that for the remainder of the day or remainder of the bill?
For the remainder of the bill.
Senator Lopez Franzen.
Mr. President, I move that further proceedings under a roll call be dispensed with and that Sergeant at Arms instruct the absentees.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The motion does prevail. The Secretary will close the roll. Senator Kunish.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so I'll renew my request. I'm wondering if Senator Nelson would yield for question.
She will. Senator Kunish.
Thank you. Senator Nelson, do you have any idea what the special education cross subsidy, that's the amount that that schools must cover under the unfunded mandate, is for the Rochester School District?
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Kunish. I do not carry that number in my head. I see you have a list in front of you, but let me tell you a little bit about that special education cross subsidy. The federal government never kept up with its promise that it would fully fund special education, and so yes, the state of Minnesota, as states all across our nation, have been left with the federal government not keeping up with its promise. As a former special education teacher, I'm well aware of this, as are far too many teachers in our state, as are their parents, and unfortunately the students. I can tell you that when I was education chair a few years ago, which I think it might have been this 2017 session or maybe the 2019 session, we, in addition to historic education funding, we also added an additional $90 million, particularly for the special education cross subsidy. So yes, it is a concern. It has continued to be a concern. I don't know exactly what point you're driving at, but I will just add that there has been, in addition, $3 billion of federal funding to our schools with COVID relief. And we do have a spreadsheet that shows how much each school district got in that federal COVID relief. And we'll be glad to share that if needed as well. But this is not to say that the special ed cross subsidy is not real. It is. We know how it works. It requires funding from other places, and it continues to be a problem. The problem is the federal government and the state has continued to more fund that cross-subsidy as we can. So I don't have the exact number for you, but you're welcome to read it off your sheet there.
Senator Kunish.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Well, your cross-subsidy debt is $16.8 million. And in Rochester, they have a English language deficit of $3.5 million. And with the inflation-adjusted aid shortfall, that's another $4.4 million. So I recognize that the federal government has never fully funded education as it should. But we are sitting on a once in a long time surplus in our state, Senator Nelson. And your tax bill spends $13 million more on tax cuts for those earning over $500K per year than on this entire education bill. And this tax bill spends 8 times more on cuts for those earning over $250K than the $30.7 million in this bill. So members, just think about it. We could cover the entire special education cross-subsidy for the state with less than half of what Senate Republicans are spending on tax cuts. We have the opportunity right here to wipe out that subsidy and invest in our schools so that they don't have to cut services, so they don't have to cut teachers, so they can have programs that are going to work for their schools. I see that Senator Housley is not here yet, but I'm wondering if Senator Coleman would yield for a question.
She will. Senator Kunish.
Senator Coleman, you represent Eastern Carver County and Waconia. Do you have any idea what your special ed or your ELL cross-subsidy might be?
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Kunish, for the question. I believe I have about 11 school districts in my Senate district, so I don't have all of those numbers off the top of my head, but thank you.
Senator Kunish.
Well, we've done the work, we've done our homework, and Eastern Carver County alone, their special ed subsidy is $9.4 million, and their ELL subsidy is over $703,000. And after inflation, your adjusted aid shortfall is $2.1 million. And in Waconia, their special ed subsidy is $4.6 million with ELL subsidy at $135,000. Their adjusted inflation shortfall is almost $931,000. So in order to prevent these budget cuts to other areas or increasing our proper taxes, we need to definitely eliminate this cross-subsidy. It's one of the most important things that we could do right here, right now. It would cost approximately $146 million in fiscal year 2023, which is really just a small grain, a small amount in our state surplus. We have the opportunity right now, members, to give that flexibility back to our school districts, to prevent any more layoffs, to decrease staff to student ratios, which I know personally makes all of the difference, and eliminate unfunded mandates by using surplus to fully fund special education. And so, members, as we go forward in this discussion on this bill, I just want you all to think about how we have a missed opportunity right now. After decades and decades of not funding our schools to its full potential. We are not taking advantage of those federal dollars or any of the other surplus opportunities that we have. And we can blame it on the federal government, and we can blame it on this, that, and the other. But we have the power right here, right now, to make our schools whole. And as we look into the future, think about what's coming up in the fall. And those of you that have children that are going into schools, whether they're public or not, just because we're doing this literacy program and dropping a mandate that Chair Chamberlain is not fond of, that's not going to fix the issues in our schools. It's not going to address the social, emotional, mental needs of our students, of our staff. It's not going to put teachers that are burnt out and discouraged and don't feel respected back into the classroom. It's not going to address the lack of diversity in our teaching staff. There are so many things that we could be doing right now, members. And because of that, because of our thoughts, our bills here on the DFL side, because we weren't heard to the best opportunity within our education committee this year, I feel that I absolutely cannot support this bill. It falls far from where we need to be to address the needs of our students and our teachers and the future of Minnesota. We can't just invest for 1 or 2 years, hopefully 4 years have outcomes. We have to look in the long game. We have to look at the generations ahead, and this bill falls short of that, members.
Senator Isaacson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick question for you. If I want to have someone who's technically registered as here but not in the room, can I have the sergeant go get him?
Senator Isaacson, we're under call. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to force someone to come to the floor.
That's fair. Just wondering what the rules were. I didn't understand that part. So, thank you. So
there is Senator Isaacson. There is one way. It's only been used once in my history here. It has
do
been
tell me.
Getting individuals into this room, and then there is a motion in our rules that closes the door and locks them. Not quite sure if you want to go in that direction. However, there is a way to do it.
Not just yet. We'll see how this goes for a little while first.
Senator Isaacson,
as much as I do
appreciate
a wonderful piece of knowledge there. So I've been spending a lot of time looking at the numbers of shortfalls across the state in various school districts. Our amazing staff has been able to put together a list of most of the school district shortfalls. And it's nothing short of stunning. Some as big as $50 or $60 million. Some not too bad, right? The majority of them are still definitely in the millions of dollars. And then what I did is I looked at that and I looked at the cross-subsidy shortfall. And as you can imagine, there seems to be somewhat of a correlation in most cases, not all, but in most cases there are. And we all know that we have about an $826 million shortfall in the cross-subsidy. And I thank Senator Kunesh for kind of teeing this up for me, so thank you for that. We are sitting in an historic kind of precipice, right? We look at the projected shortfalls in these districts and the pink slips that are going out, that while they definitely have teachers, what they really do is hurt students. And that is the very sad part of what we're dealing with today. And I'm going to address that part in a little bit. I really want to focus on just the disservice at this moment we're doing with the cross-subsidy. When you have $826 million going out that shouldn't have to be budgeted for by our school boards because the federal government doesn't do its job.
Mr. President, point of inquiry.
Senator Chamberlain, for what reason do you rise?
Maybe you can help me out and help out the body, Mr. President. Our bill in front of us now, Senator Uyghur and Senator Kunesh had their half hour, and I didn't interrupt, but the bill in front of us is a Omnibus Literacy Appropriations bill and not a solve everything else bill. So is it correct to say to focus on the content of the bill and what we're addressing in front of us? Or do we go far afield and discuss everything that impacts K-12? Because we can't solve all the problems. So I'm just wondering, do we have to focus on the literacy omnibus appropriations, or are they allowed to take us all down every street and lane in the city? Thank you.
Mr. President, can I?
I have an answer for Senator Chamberlain
Thank
first. So, Senator Chamberlain, I think the point that is being made by the individuals who have spoken so far is that there are alternatives that they would like to see in the bill, or that they see as opportunities that were missed. And I think it is a fair statement for the minority to say there are other things that could be in the bill. However, your point regarding how far we go astray from what the actual simple text of the language is a point well taken. I think members should try and confine themselves. We have had about an hour's worth of discussion already, and I do see a lot of paper at the front desk. It has been the President's direction that amendments should take priority. I would certainly like to go to work on those amendments. However, I will not stifle the discussion about what is not in the bill, as long as we stay to a reasonable level of discussion and not go off into a long 2-hour soliloquy. Although, Senator Isaacson, I'm positive you certainly could do that. I'm sure you won't. Senator
I can't promise that, but I do appreciate the consideration. And I would maybe just, as a rejoinder to my friend across the aisle, the chairman, say that right now is a chance for us to persuade our friends across the aisle. It's also a chance for us to talk to the state in general, all 14 people that are watching this right now. And I would say that part of what I want people to understand is my rationale, whether I'll vote for it or not, is entirely due to what's also not in it. Now, if I said we didn't have election laws in there, I could see where you'd make that argument. I think that's a fair argument. But I'm talking about things that are intimate to K-12. Regardless of how much the good chairman wants to focus and narrow his omnibus, we are talking about an entire division here. And so I will attempt to stay relevant. And so, anyways, what I was saying is that when we have this kind of a shortfall, and it's $826 million, we have to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility, right? And government in general, what is government's responsibility? And we do have a constitutional responsibility to fund education. And in that responsibility, I would argue that perhaps an even greater responsibility is to help those that need the help, right? And that's what the cross-subsidy is about, special education, making sure everybody has the chance to live the best version of their life, get the education they deserve, and go on to be productive members of our society. And what we're doing by not taking that responsibility on is we're saying, well, you have to eat the costs. And the problem with that is that when you eat the costs, we have several districts that right now are underwater. They have a loss of $2 or $3 million, and their cross-subsidy costs are $7 to $8 million. That if we covered cross-subsidy, they would be in the black. They would have cash to go and do the programs they want, to have the teachers they need, to make good deals, to have good infrastructure in place, technology, all the things they need, but we're not doing that. Now, I get in the past, because we had to pass giant tax cut bills, we didn't have money to pay for these things, but we're not in that spot right now. Right now, we have a huge surplus. I mean, a ginormous surplus. It looks like it might even get bigger. When I think of the things that we're responsible for, the sacred mission our body has, and the legislature and the government in general is, let's take care of our future generations, perhaps foremost. And the reality is, this bill doesn't do that. This bill does not even come close. I like to use this example because I'm a bitter Vikings fan. When it's 3rd and 10, I know the Vikings are going to do a 3-yard pass, and it's going to be 4th and 7. That's what this bill is. You got me 3 yards. I appreciate that, but it wasn't what we needed. This bill absolutely fails the people of Minnesota on so many fundamental levels that I'm going to be happy to talk about later. But right now, I want to talk specifically about the cross-subsidy. Folks, I don't know that in our lifetime as legislators, we're ever going to be in a position that we're in right now. I don't know that that's ever going to happen again. I don't know we're ever going to be in a position where we can literally look at a problem and just solve it. Now, I want to tell you, we have these discussions about what does it mean to take on good policy and where is government burdensome and all that kind of stuff. I get it. That's fine. This one's so clean. Unfortunately, put in our lap because of the federal government, this one is so clean. It's simply a burden on our schools they shouldn't have to pay to take care of the people that need it the most. And our responsibility would be to fix that. We can do it. We have the ability. We can do it and not touch 10% of the entire surplus. Think about that. With less than 10% of the surplus, we can single-handedly solve one of the biggest problems plaguing education. And the problem with this problem is that when we don't fix it, the ripple effects throughout the entire system are felt. And that is our responsibility. And that's something we're ignoring, which is why I'm offering the A1 amendment.
Senator Isaacson moves the A1 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Isaacson moves to amend House File Number 4300 as follows, page 8 after line 14. Insert, this is the A1 amendment.
And what the A1 amendment does is fixes the problem we're ignoring. Thank you, Mr. President. Fixes the...
Sorry.
Did you record
it? The A1 amendment, Senator Isaacson.
I'd like a roll call on it too, please.
Roll call requested. Roll call granted. Senator Isaacson.
We are going to fix this problem here and now, as I offered. I apologize if I interrupted the Secretary or the President. We good? Okay. So we're going to fix that problem right now. We're going to have a chance right now to vote on that. Folks, we're going to have a chance to fix this problem once and for all and set a standard going forward that we're not going to let this plague our school districts anymore, and we're not going to continue to have them operate at negative funding because of the cross-subsidy. I'd love to have your vote. Thank you.
Senator Chamberlain to the A1 amendment.
Point of order, Rule 7.4, out of balance. He's just throwing money into here that doesn't exist elsewhere. So,
Senator Chamberlain moves to a point of order of germaneness that it violates.
Not germaneness, Mr. President. It's out of balance. 7.4.
Point of order under rules that is out of balance.
Yes.
And it's 7.4. Advice, Senator Isaacson.
Well, once again, he's right, because he didn't do his job the first time, so now we're out of money.
Well, Senator Isaacson, you made my decision rather clear. Thank you, Senator Isaacson.
Hey, Mr. President, I let it go earlier, but he's implying motive. Now he's insulting me. So do we have some decorum on the Senate floor?
Senator.
That's certainly not it, right? Because wait until the closing, Senator Isaacson.
You're not. Mr. President, thank you. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm just going to say that all I'm doing is calling out the fact that the job didn't get done. I don't know where that's motive. It just was a failure to do your job. That's all it was.
So, Senator Isaacson, Senator Chamberlain, we're going to just end the back and forth here. I would suggest, members, again, that motives, according to Masons, should not be implied. It is fair game to say that there are things missing in this bill that you think should be in here, and that's a fair statement. However, taking additional steps beyond that could stray into that motive. However, that point of order brought by Senator Chamberlain by rule is well taken. The amendment is out of order. Further discussion and amendment. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring attention to my colleagues that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health is vital for literacy. Kids can't learn to read if they have mental health problems that are distracting them during the school days. The pandemic has really shown a spotlight on our mental health needs. Our kids are hurting, our teachers are struggling, and our support personnel are just too few and they're too overwhelmed. Our schools need counselors, social workers, psychologists, nurses, and chemical dependency professionals. Minnesota's counselor to student ratio is 1 to 654. 1 for every 654 students. That puts us 46th in the country. We cannot afford to delay the mental health support our students have been begging for, our schools have been begging for any longer. We know that LGBTQ kids and students of color are facing harassments at higher levels than ever, and they need our support. We really need to put these resources into the Education Omnibus Bill, not carried elsewhere, as that funding can get lost or pushed to the side. And so, Mr. President, I bring the A8 amendment.
Senator Port moves the A8 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Port moves to amend House File Number 4300 as follows. Page 7 after line 16, insert. This is the A8 amendment.
So the A8 amendment, Senator Port.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our schools are facing unprecedented challenges, and responding with 0.3% of our state's historic budget surplus falls desperately short. I ask for a roll call vote and a green vote. Thank you.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Discussion to the A8 amendment. Senator Chamberlain.
Mr. President, point of order 7.4 out of balance.
A point of order has been made that the amendment is out of order according to Rule 7.4, that it adds money to a omnibus bill. Discussion to that point of order? Seeing none, I rule that the point of order is well taken. The amendment is out of order. Additional amendments and discussion. Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, an additional funding priority that we've heard time and time again from our school leaders is the English Learner Cross-Subsidy. Again, Minnesota's public schools serve all students, no matter who they are, where they're from. And to prevent budget cuts to other areas or increased property taxes, eliminating the English Learner Cross-Subsidy is one of the most important things we can take. In fiscal year 2021, the ELL cross-subsidy cost districts statewide $146 million. To that end, I move the A10 amendment.
The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Pappas moves to amend House File Number 4300 as follows. Page 7 after line 16, insert. This is the A10 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment would phase in full funding over 4 years and provide $47 million to schools in fiscal year 23, which is a small fraction of our state surplus, and only 2% of the Republican proposed tax amendment. It would provide to Senator Chamberlain himself for White Bear Lake and Centennial $859,000. To Senator Coleman, $135,000 to Waconia and $703,000 to Eastern Carver County. To Senator Duckworth, $1.6 million to Lakeville Farmington. To Senator Housley in Stillwater, $617,000. To Senator Andrew Lang in Wilmer, $1,344,000. To Senator Limmer in Osseo and Elk River, $8,719,000, and to Elk River, $570,000. To Senator Miller, $497,000, and to Senator Nelson, $3,556,000, and to Senator Weber, $1,635,000.
Mr. President, I request a recess.
Senator Benson has requested a recess. All those in favor of recess signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Senate's in recess.
Republicans will meet in 303 to the call of the President.
I didn't do anything wrong. You did not.